Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's awesome guest is Dr. Patrick Vickers from the Gerson Therapy Clinic in Mexico. The Gerson therapy is most known for healing cancer. And we're talking advanced stage cancer as well. They have a high level of success using a foundation of juicing and coffee enemas and supplementation. And we dive deep into their program here. And I actually would like to go to this clinic for just a wellness visit for like a week. And it sounds amazing, but he's very, very passionate about what they do at Gerson. They have a very high success rate, lots of documentaries and books written about the therapy approach. And I can't wait for you to meet him. So let's go and say hello to Dr. Vickers. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhide, health coach and personal trainer and founder of HighEnergyGirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Guess what, everyone? My book is out. It is a revised and updated edition of a book I wrote 5 years ago called No Frickin' Way, 21 Days to Ditch the Diet and Lose Weight the Keto Way by Loving Yourself to Health. When I first wrote the original book, I was not a believer in the low-carb movement, but after all the years of research I've done, I am sold out for life. In this book, you will learn about all the lies you have been fed, how to engage in loving self-care, how to eat nourishing foods that provide massive energy, why the ketogenic diet is not a fad, how to heal your body through fasting, why you should move your body to get stronger, and how to create an empowering mindset. Start reading now and finally achieve the high energy and positive body image you deserve. Check it out on Kindle, on Amazon. And if you like it, please leave us a review because this will help more people find it. I really want to inspire people to not deprive themselves, but to nourish themselves with loving self-care and amazingly healthy food so that they can age stronger. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Hey, Dr. Vickers, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. When I knew that this was a possibility, I'm like, I am all in. So for the listeners that don't know you, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a chiropractor by trade. I wanted to be a chiropractor ever since I was 11 years old. A friend of our family's was a chiropractor. And they were staying at our home for the weekend when their 5-year-old boy, who was sleeping with me in my bed one night, woke up in the middle of the night with a cough that wouldn't stop. And he just kept on coughing for 20 minutes straight. Finally, his father heard him, came upstairs, lied him on the end of my bed, and adjusted his neck both ways. And he stopped coughing immediately. And he didn't cough the rest of the night. I said, that's what I'm going to do for a living. So here I am a year away from graduating chiropractic school when iconic Charlotte Gerson is invited to come speak at my school to talk about her father's therapy, Dr. Max Gerson and the Gerson therapy. Well, as soon as she opened up her mouth, I said, that's what I'm going to do. And so here we are now, 25, 26 years removed from that time. And, now I have, probably the premier clinic, one of the premier clinics in the world for the treatment of advanced cancer and disease, where we're specializing in Dr. Gerson's therapy. And we've taken his basic tenets that he left behind in 1959 when he died. And we've added a myriad of protocols, which are all based on what's come out in the scientific literature, proving benefit to the cancer patient and other disease patients, obviously. And that's what we now call the Advanced Gerson Therapy. So, that is my background, and it's pretty short, pretty simple. but I can't imagine doing anything greater for what I have a passion for, and that is the Gerson therapy.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. And you're able to do this in the United States unhindered?
No.
Oh, okay. You said Washington, and I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Well, that's where I live. That's where I commute from.
Let's back up. So
yeah.
For those listeners that don't know about Gerson, can you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Dr. Gerson, he studied medicine back around 1900 at the University of Freiburg in Germany. And when he was a student there, now you have to understand back then, if you wanted a superior medical education anywhere in the world, you went to Germany to get that superior medical education. They led the way in medical research and treatment. And so he had the top professors at his disposal at that time. Well, he was suffering from severe advanced migraine headaches when he was a student, and they could do nothing for him. So he set out to cure himself of his severe migraine headaches by radically altering his diet, taking out all the salt, all the animal products, all the standard processed foods, the meats of the standard German diet of then, which is today the standard world diet still, essentially, and he cured himself of those migraine headaches. Well, he graduates from the University of Freiburg, and he starts treating people with his migraine diet. When patients start coming to him, cured of all these other degenerative conditions, and including tuberculosis, which was, killing 1 million people back in Europe at that time. So he radically changed his lifestyle and came up with what we know today as the Gerson therapy. And just in a nutshell, our patients are getting 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables every single day. And every single day, they're getting a fresh pressed juice every hour on the hour for 13 hours straight. That compiles about 17 pounds of the produce. And then they're getting 3 cooked organic meals every single day. Now, we have to address other things as well. We have to address the issue of toxicity, which, as you know, what Dr. Gerson made famous was the coffee enema. And so our patients are getting 5 coffee enemas per day. And I'm sure we'll get into that, why they're doing the coffee enema, because there is not a better way to detoxify the human body than a coffee enema. It's that simple. And then on top of that, that's when you have to properly supplement the body. This is the problem today. We're an over-supplemented society. Our naturopathic doctors, they've taken the medical model and have tried to apply it to medicine or to natural medicine, and they're supplementing people to death, literally, because there comes a point where the human body can't handle, so many supplements, and it just says, I can't deal with this. I can't do anything with it. But there is a place for proper supplementation. And that's where really Gerson showed his genius as well. Remember, Nobel Peace Prize winner Dr. Albert Schweitzer called Gerson the greatest genius in medical history. It's this 3-pronged approach: diet, detoxification, and proper supplementation that really, set Gerson apart from everyone in his time. And even today, he's still way ahead of his time. So there's a very specific supplement protocol, which is based on the restoration of human metabolism. And we can go into that later, what metabolism is defined. But that was Gerson's secret to reversing advanced disease. It's complete restoration of metabolism. That's the cause of disease ultimately. That's how you prevent disease, is by maintaining and restoring proper metabolism.
Interesting. So I have a lot to break down on what you just said. Okay. Yeah. So the Gerson Protocol, and you said you've added a lot to it. So let's just start with the basics. So we have the juice that you're doing 13 times a day. I have a friend who used to go to the farmer's market. She had breast cancer and she was doing all of this. So getting her big box of produce. That's what right. is in your daily juice?
Yeah. So, like I said, there's 13 juices, right? So they wake up in the morning to breakfast, and the first juice of, at breakfast is an orange juice. They get a fresh pressed organic orange juice, and then they get a green juice at 9 o'clock, which consists of a myriad of things: red cabbage, watercress, green pepper, one leaf of chard, various lettuces, endive, escarole, romaine, bib, whatever you can get your hands on to make up an 8-ounce juice at that point, and a Granny Smith apple. That's absolutely vital, believe it or not. And when we talk about metabolism, you'll understand why Granny Smith apple plays a vital role in the therapy. So that's the green juice. And then the patients are getting 9 carrot or carrot apple and carrot lemon juices the remainder of the day. So they get 4 green juices, 9 carrot apple, carrot lemon juice, and then the orange juice in the morning.
Okay. Now, many of us might say, well, that sounds like a lot of sugar. And I'm sure you've heard that before. So how do you address that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's reiterate. Let's just tell your audience 8 movies have chronicled our work. No other therapy in the history of medicine has been able to reverse advanced disease with the kind of consistency that boasts 8 movies being done on your work. No other therapy can boast that kind of recognition on an international scale. So this theory out there, and it is bogus theory, that sugar feeds cancer. If sugar fed cancer, the Gerson therapy would have a 0% cure rate, and we'd be leading people straight to their grave quicker than they would get there naturally. Not only does sugar from fruits and vegetables, cure cancer, it also is necessary to prevent all diseases. But most notably, the way you heal cancer is sugar. Metabolism, as we mentioned, is the breakdown of food into energy. How does the human body create energy? Evolutionarily, from the beginning of time, from single cell organisms to human beings, required carbohydrates. That's how you create energy on a cellular level, in the presence of oxygen. So sugar heals cancer when oxygen is present. And we can go into that on a deeper cellular level. But the Gerson therapy has been successfully reversing advanced cancer better than anyone in the world and anyone in history, using 3,500 calories to 4,000 calories a day in fruit and vegetable sugars. The ketogenic theory telling you that sugar feeds cancer, it is such horribly faulty science. And in 10 years, we're going to look back on the ketogenic diet, just like we look back on the Atkins diet for weight loss, as a viable means of healing cancer. It's going to look as bad as chemotherapy. There will be absolutely no clinical evidence in any kind of consistent evidence that the ketogenic diet can heal advanced cancer. It won't. It's impossible.
But why do you think that? Okay, so when I look at fruits and vegetables, I see vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, that type of thing. So what key do you believe is in that juice that is helping the patients?
Well, all of those play a major role. When you break down your food, right, you have to convert it into energy. What does that require? That requires all your enzymes, all your nutrients, your vitamins, your minerals, your cofactors, bioflavonoids, all of those work in the Krebs cycle to break your food down into energy, right? But you can't break your food down into energy if you cannot get oxygen into the cell. You have to be able to get oxygen into the cell. And this is where really the crux of the matter lies today with health and disease. When we're talking about, how many times have you ever heard an alkaline diet, right, is healthy and that heals disease, and an acidic diet is what ultimately causes disease, right? Alkalinity and acidity. I mean, we hear those terms constantly, but they're never really thoroughly explained, and the health implications behind those two terms. When we're talking about alkalinity and acidity, what are we talking about? We're talking about potential hydrogen, pH, right? We're talking about pH. Well, what is pH? It's potential hydrogen. Now, why is this significant? This is so critical. This is biochemistry 101 that I learned in school, my first 2 weeks of biochemistry. And it is the crux of the matter when we're dealing with health and disease. When we're talking about alkalinity and acidity, we're talking about pH. pH is potential hydrogen. When you are acidic, you have a buildup of hydrogen in the body, particularly at the level of the cell membrane. That cell membrane you have around your cells, that is the gatekeeper of what's allowed to go in, what's not allowed to go in, what's allowed out, and what's not allowed out of that cell. That is the gatekeeper. Well, what is that cell membrane made up of? It's made up of fats. What kind of fats? Whatever fats you're feeding it. Whatever fats you're feeding the human body, it's going to go to maintain the cell membrane. What kind of fats is everyone eating today? They're eating cookies, cake, ice cream, meat, cheese, dairy. They're coconut oil, cooking with all these oils. Partially hydrogenated oils that you read on your ingredient label, right? That is the issue. What are these fats saturated with? We define fats based on their saturation with hydrogen. Saturated fats are saturated with hydrogen. Olive oil is a monosaturated fat. Flax oil is a polyunsaturated fat. So these fats are what is going to go up to make your cell membranes. Now, if you have a cell membrane that's made up of saturated fats, because that's the diet that you have, so the body's naturally going to use those to maintain the cell membrane. As oxygen approaches the cell, it literally gets repelled away from the cell. You cannot get oxygen into the cell when you are acidic, i.e. a buildup of hydrogen in the body. That is the definition of acidity. And so you can't convert sugars and food into energy if you cannot get oxygen into the cells. So that is the health implication of alkalinity and acidity. Acidity, by definition, is a buildup of hydrogen in the body, particularly at the level of the cell membrane. And so the real definition of acidity then would be the improper utilization of oxygen. If you cannot get oxygen into the cell, you cannot convert the food into energy. So that's where the ketogenic people have it right. They tell you sugar feeds cancer. Sugar feeds cancer in an acidic body because you can't get oxygen into the cell. In an alkaline body, where hydrogen has been replaced by hydroxyl ions in the juices that have neutralized the acidity, you can now get oxygen into the cells. You can convert your food to energy. That energy is what ultimately rallies the immune response. In 1931, Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for proving that cancer, viruses, bacteria cannot survive in a body where the cells are properly oxygenated. And he went on to describe this very fact, that you cannot get oxygen into the cell in an acidic diet, that it's ultimately an alkaline diet that promotes that oxygenation of tissue, ultimately leading the body's ability to convert food into energy. And that is why sugar heals cancer. It's that simple. We've proven that for 120 years. For 120 years, we have proven sugar heals cancer.
Well, the combination of how you guys do everything, because not all sugar heals cancer.
Well, obviously not. I mean, cookies, cake, and ice cream and Snickers bars aren't going to heal cancer, right?
Oh, and
but
that
fruit and vegetable sugars will.
Well, fruit and vegetables, I mean, I just don't even really think about them as being sugar.
Right.
Like I said, I live on a farm. We have 80 fruit trees, berry bushes, a humongous garden. We have our own chickens. So, we like to live off of the land. But when my dad was in cancer treatment, he was being fed during chemotherapy, candy, cookies, all that stuff. I was livid. I'm like, don't eat that stuff. And he goes, my doctor says it doesn't matter what I eat. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
They're blind.
So let's talk about coffee enemas. I have done them.
Yeah.
I've never done more than one at a time. But let's talk about that. And I want to tell you a quick story though. One of my clients who had major liver issues, I told her about it. She started doing it. She literally got off the liver transplant list just by doing coffee enemas.
That's right.
Isn't that cool?
That's right. That's just, par for the course.
So go ahead and talk about that. What is a coffee enema?
Yeah. So look, obviously people coming into our clinic, they're extremely toxic, right? And whatever disease process they have, particularly cancer and tumors, they have their own toxic byproducts they're producing. And then when you stick them on the juices and the supplements and all the other advanced protocols that we're using at the clinic, you start to break down diseased tissue, rebuild new tissue. You're generating more toxicity with that. So you have to detoxify the human body in a major way on this therapy. And so Gerson discovered the coffee enema. And there is nothing more powerful for liver detoxification than a coffee enema. Now, your liver, it produces an enzyme called glutathione transferase. Glutathione transferase is one of the most potent detoxifying enzymes in the human body. The liver uses palmitic acid to create glutathione transferase. Properly roasted organic coffee from a specific, more basic, i.e. basic pH bean, is loaded with palmitic acid. And it has been scientifically demonstrated that when you do one coffee enema, just one, the production of glutathione transferase goes up 600 to 700% greater than normal. Yeah, 600 to 700% greater than normal. And so our patients are getting 5 of those per day. That is effective, intensive detoxification, and nothing is remotely comparable. And if you have advanced cancer, nothing short of that is going to reverse advanced cancer in conjunction with the 13 juices. You just don't do 5 coffee enemas. You will actually cause your body harm. Why? When you stimulate the production of glutathione transferase, you require massive amounts of nutrients. All your B vitamins, vitamin K, vitamin C, all of these things are necessary to stimulate and create glutathione transferase. So if you start doing enemas without replenishing with organic produce, you're going to deplete your body even more than it's already depleted. And so that's what, that is the standard rule on the Gerson therapy. 3 juices, 1 enema.
Okay. And then lastly, you said proper supplementation. Yeah. What does that look like?
Oh, that would take a whole 2 hours to explain. Yeah.
Okay.
But first and foremost, it's all based on cellular metabolism. For example, we talked about the cell, right? We have to restore that cell membrane because, as I mentioned, it's made up of saturated fats today because people are eating too many saturated fats. So one of the supplements, believe it or not, is flax oil. Flax oil is pure medicine. It is a polyunsaturated fat. When you use that to restore the fats at the level of the cell membrane, the electrical charge that it has, it literally acts as a magnet to draw oxygen into the cell. It is potent medicine. Now, one thing we haven't discussed, and it's rule number 1 on the Gerson therapy, believe it or not, is absolutely no sodium. other than what's naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables. Why? There's two reasons why absolutely no sodium on the Gerson therapy. Today, every single person that comes into our clinic, patient and companion, they are all coming in with 5 to 10, if not 15 pounds of water weight trapped in their cells. So their cells, when they come in, look like this instead of like this. Now, if you're a little mitochondria inside the cell and it's your job to convert food, sugar into energy, how can you survive an environment like this? You can't. And so Gerson instinctively understood that to restore the internal cellular metabolism, you had to get salt and water out of the cells. And there's only one way. There's only one way, and that's potassium. You have a law in the human body. If you eat sodium, your body dumps potassium, an absolutely vital mineral for many reasons. You eat potassium, your body dumps sodium. So Gerson came up with a very special potassium compound powder that goes in each juice. And that flushes salt and water stored up and trapped in the cells because you can't get it out unless there's enough potassium. And so we bombard the body with this potassium, and our patients walk out 2 to 3 weeks later, everyone, patient and companion, 5, 10, 15 pounds lighter than when they entered. So that's absolutely vital, that potassium compound powder. Now, one more reason why there's absolutely no sodium other than what's naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables on the Gerson therapy. The thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is completely dependent on what? It's
iodine?
Iodine, exactly. What is the thyroid gland's main job? Its main role is to produce the little mitochondria in your cells that convert food into energy. That's why when someone's overweight, they have low energy, they're cold all the time, they're losing their hair on the side of their eyebrows, losing their hair, they have no energy. Why? Because they're low thyroid, right? They're hypothyroid. Why? Because they're not able to convert food into energy efficiently, because the thyroid gland specifically responsible for reproducing the little mitochondria in the cell. Well, that thyroid gland, as we said, is dependent on iodine. What's salt? Salt is sodium chloride, right? Salt is sodium chloride. Table salt is 99.999% sodium chloride. When they came out with table salt, what happened? People ended up getting goiter. They ended up walking around looking like turkeys. Why? Because they didn't iodize it. That's when they iodized it. When they first came out with table salt, they didn't iodize it, and the whole world started walking around looking like that. So they had to iodize it. But they iodize it just enough so you don't walk around looking like a turkey. But here's the problem. It's destroying the thyroid gland on a subclinical level, because chloride displaces iodine from the thyroid gland. That is the issue. Now people say, well, I don't eat table salt. I eat the good salt. I eat Himalayan salt. I eat Celtic salt. I eat Redmond salt, whatever these natural salts are. And I say, so those are 86 to 87% sodium chloride. There's a reason why the Dead Sea is dead, because it can't promote biological life. It literally cannot promote biological life because of the sodium chloride content. So to restore human metabolism and restore human health, you have to be able to restore the thyroid gland. You must get all sodium out of the diet because of the sodium chloride content.
Interesting. I have never heard that before. And then you said earlier on that you added a bunch of things to your protocol. Can you touch on a few of those?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, Dr. Gerson died in 1959. He was the consummate scientist. He was constantly perfecting his therapy based on what was coming out in the scientific literature of his time. In fact, in 1952, he completely revamped his juicing protocol, which he'd had for nearly 50 years at that point. And so it was based on what was coming out in the scientific literature. If Gerson were alive today, you can rest assured his therapy would look much different than it did in 1959. Maybe not necessarily the basic dietary tenase and the juicing, but based on what's come out in the scientific literature on other things. So let's take, for example, we touched on Otto Warburg and oxygen, right? Well, now that we've created the environment inside the human body to now accept and utilize oxygen into the cell, what would you naturally do? Bombard the body with oxygen, right? So our patients are getting hyperbaric oxygen. They're getting ultraviolet blood irradiation with ozone. They can have rectal ozone. They're getting pulse electromagnetic frequency, the beamer mat specifically. The beamer mat, they say, oxygenates tissues 30% greater than a chamber. That's how powerful. Yeah, the beamer mat's very, very powerful for oxygenating the cells. It's miraculous. I've seen unbelievable stuff with the beamer mat alone because of its ability to restore blood flow and oxygenate tissues. It's mind-blowing just by lying on this little mat. So we've integrated that. What else have we integrated? Two other things that we've integrated into the diet. Pure, unadulterated aloe vera, harvested in the Dominican Republic organically, cold, frozen, overnight shipped to us. When we get it, it's still in its frozen form, goes into the freezer, and we use it as we need it each day. And it goes straight into the juices. You never buy aloe vera off a store shelf. Never. It's been decolorized. It's been deodorized. It's had preservatives added to it. When you have pure aloe vera, if you don't use it in 5 days, it ferments. It smells like it stinks. It smells like alcohol. It's dying. It's ferment. Well, it's not dying. It's fermenting, right? So when you buy it off the store shelf, they have to prevent that. So that's how they prevent it. They do all these processing things to it, and they add preservatives. You never do that. But anyway, when we're talking about metabolism, right? What is metabolism defined? It's the breakdown of food into energy. Now, think about that. Well, the breakdown of food. Is it any wonder that we're taught 70% of your immune system is where? In the gut. It's in the intestinal tract. You hear that all the time in natural medicine. So naturally, the breakdown of food into energy, metabolism, starts in the gut. So how do you heal the gut? You can't heal the gut on supplements. You heal it on food. So 13 juices a day, all the meals every day starts to heal the gut. You add aloe vera, pure unadulterated aloe vera, harvested and shipped to you immediately. There's not a more potent healer of the epithelial lining and the digestive tract than aloe vera. With the exception of another thing we're adding, raw living spirulina. I mean, you know what spirulina is, obviously, right? Well, look, up until recently, and when I say recently, maybe the last 3 to 5 years, the purest form of spirulina you and I could get would be the organic powdered form, right? Now, have you ever tasted and smelled organic powdered spirulina?
Ah, it's gross.
It's gross. It smells horrible, right? It tastes horrible. But do you know the studies still on that go to the ceiling on how powerful it is for healing? Well, why does it stink and smell so bad? Well, what is spirulina? It's a cyanobacteria. So when you make it into a powdered form by dehydrating it or freeze drying it, what are you doing? You're killing it. You're killing it. And it's still powerful. But that's why it stinks, and that's why it tastes horrible. Well, there's a guy in Vero Beach who has revolutionized the production of spirulina. And he creates now raw living spirulina. He harvests it on a Monday, ships it to us overnight, cold package. We get it on Tuesday, and we have 2 weeks to use it up. If you put it on a microscope, you literally see the spirulina swimming around. It is potent medicine for the human body. Hippocrates said, the greatest physician that ever lived, who ironically was Gerson's mentor. Gerson relied on Hippocrates and Paracelsus, Hippocrates' student, to develop his work. Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine. So this is where we've added things in the food realm to the Gerson therapy. Now we also, in conjunction with the spirulina, have added near-infrared sauna. There's a book. It's called The Medicine of Light. It's written by Nathaniel Mead. The science out now that is crystal clear is that when you bombard the body with chlorophyll and then you hit the body with near-infrared light specifically, not far infrared, not mid-infrared, but near-infrared specifically, you cause immediate apoptosis, i.e. cell death of cancer cells. That is the science. So we're bombarding our patient's body with chlorophyll. They're getting hit with near-infrared light for 20 minutes once or twice a day, and that promotes continued destruction of the cancer cells. So we've taken all these little things. We've added Coley's treatment. We've added GCMAF. MAF stands for macrophage activating factor. Now, macrophages, macro means big, phage means eat. They're the big cells in your body that eat cancer, viruses, and bacteria. Your body naturally produces GCMAF, but cancer cells have the ability to send out cell signals that put that entire system to sleep. And so you can inject GCMAF into the body and you can rally the production of macrophages. And so that's what we've also added to the protocol. So all of these different things together, and I can't imagine a more formidable protocol anywhere in the world. Gerson alone is the most formidable protocol anywhere in the world. You now add these things on top of that, and I'd challenge anyone to try to compete with that.
And where is the Gerson Center? Is it still in northern Mexico?
It is. So it's just over the border from San Diego. Our patients fly into San Diego, and it's only a 40-minute drive from San Diego Airport to our clinic. It's literally 15 to 20 minutes when you cross the border. And it's stunning. I mean, you're from California. You've probably been down that way before, I would imagine. Maybe not. Never been there. Oh, it's beautiful. And the culture is amazing. I mean, you know, the mañana spirit, the relaxed mañana spirit, right, is alive and well still. As frustrating as it can be when you got 18 Mexican employees, but the mañana spirit is really great, no? But no, they're lovely people. It's such a rich culture. And, you know, contrary to what you're bombarded with on a daily basis about Mexico, it's unbelievably safe. Unless, of course, you're dealing cocaine and marijuana, then, you know, you might be in a bit of trouble. But we're not dealing with cocaine and marijuana. Well, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of cannabis, but other than that, you know, it's safe for our patients.
That's awesome. So do you ever have people come in and experience your protocol that aren't diagnosed with cancer just because they want to be at the top of their game health-wise, or perhaps prevent what they don't know is already, you know, everybody has cancer cells in their body, right?
That's
right. Do you ever have health, like undiagnosed cancer people, like people just coming in for wellness?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So this isn't just a therapy for, you know, to heal disease. I mean, and let's make this clear as well. You know, we really haven't touched on anything else because the 8 movies that have chronicled our work have all been done on cancer. And I think actually that's quite unfortunate, because the reality is we're reversing virtually every single degenerative disease, not just cancer, right? But as it relates to prevention, look, this is a lifestyle. It's not just a therapy. So to integrate these basic principles and tenets into your lifestyle is going to be protective. You know, that's Gerson's famous quote: stay true to the laws of nature, the external laws of nature, and they will protect you. And so I wish my whole clinic was a prevention clinic, because let me tell you something. It's not easy treating cancer. It's actually quite depressing and quite dejecting. And so if I could have a clinic full of people wanting to come to learn how to live correctly by the principles of the Gerson therapy, I'd be the happiest man on earth. You know, so I welcome anyone who would like to do that.
Do you guys have anything like that in the States, or do you just have the one clinic in Mexico?
Oh, no, we just have the one clinic in Mexico. I mean, I would open something up in the States for that, because I could legally. But we're stretched to the max just dealing with cancer patients and, you know, an occasional other diseased patient. But, you know, on occasion, I'll have a week or 2 week long retreat. I had one up here at my farm in Washington. I did a series of them in Stowe, Vermont in the fall and in the spring a few years ago, which, you know, I may consider doing again, because I absolutely love that area during those times during the year. So on occasion, if you watch our website, you'll see that pop up, or our Facebook page. But no, we don't have a place where we're actually doing prevention right now.
Yeah. Have you guys seen an uptick in cancer cases? Do you feel like it's on the rise again?
Look, I've been doing this 25 years. You know, in 1900, they say 1 out of every 60, some say 1 out of every 100 or more got cancer. Today, we're down to 1 out of every 3, going on 1 out of every 2. When I was in high school, I can remember cancer being very rare, like even rare then, you know, not 1 out of every 60, but I don't know what the numbers would have been back then. 1 out of every 25, 1 out of every 30, but it's become so toxic over the last generation or two since I was a kid. It's epidemic, or pandemic, for lack of a better word. Cancer is pandemic. We are going on 1 out of every 2. What's coming into our clinic now compared to what was coming in 25 years ago when I started, it's like night and day. They're coming in younger and younger and younger. They're coming in with more and more aggressive tumors. It's getting harder and harder to cure cancer with Gerson. That's why you have to use these advanced protocols that we've integrated. You have to today.
Yeah. And did you say that most of your patients are there for 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's right. We require a minimum 2-week stay. This therapy is so specific. You cannot imagine the dietary rules that a cancer patient must obey if they're going to get well. I mean, you can't imagine the specificity with Dr. Gerson's dietary protocol. The forbidden foods list is like this, because the rules change once you have cancer. So it takes 2 weeks minimum to get comfortable with that intensity and specificity of the protocol.
Yeah, it would be hard to work, I would imagine, for these people if they have to do the 13 juices every hour, 5 coffee enemas. I mean, how would they be able to work? You know, and then go ahead. You can answer that.
If you have 12 months to live, you can stop worrying about work.
Yeah, true.
It's a full-time job. Even if you have a year or 2 to live, it's a full-time job if you want to get well. So you're going to have to put work aside, and you're going to have to rest. That's another thing on the Gerson therapy. You must rest. When a dog is sick, what does it do? It eats, it drinks, and it sleeps. It's not out there working and playing. That's all it does. Eats, drinks, and sleeps. Gerson was adamant. If you want to get well, you're going to have to rest. So when you're diagnosed with cancer, your life hits a wall. Because let's face it, if you're diagnosed with cancer, your life's kind of been out of control. That's why you get diagnosed with cancer, because you haven't been living a proper life. That is the reality. As harsh as that sounds, that is the reality. And your life hits a wall. And everything you've done up to that point comes to a halt. And you must rest and you must buckle down. This is a 2-year therapy. And if you think about this, look, the average age coming into my clinic is between 50 and 55. It's that simple. That is the average age. Why? Because day after day after day for 5 decades, we can destroy the human body like we're destroying the human body until the human body can no longer hide it and the immune system is shut down. Cancer is a 20-year process. Once you've been diagnosed with tumors and they come and show their rear their ugly head, they've already been there at least 10, 20 years. That is the process. And so all of a sudden, your 5th decade of life on average, this is on average, right? You're diagnosed with cancer. It's actually God's mercy that we can get you better in 2 years, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be disciplined, intensive, and you're going to have the will to live to do a therapy like this. I always hear, why is the Gerson therapy so successful? Well, it's so successful because it's the most difficult. That is the reality. The reason why the Gerson therapy is so successful is because it is the most difficult. There's no shortcuts to healing, and don't let anybody fool you. There's no magic bullet. There's no IV. There's no magic supplement that you're going to take in order to heal an advanced cancer or even a stage 2 cancer. It will take a radical lifestyle and intensive therapy like the Gerson therapy.
And does it work for all kinds of cancer? I know somebody who has this type of lymphoma that she's in her early 60s, and it's a certain type of lymphoma that the doctor said they can't treat. They just have to kind of keep an eye on it.
No, lymphoma is our greatest success. That is our greatest success. Why? Simple. All your cancers, they have the ability to wrap an envelope around themselves to make them undetectable to the immune system. That's how they survive. We can break that down over time with all the enzymes, the juices and stuff. We can break that down. Lymphoma and melanoma, they don't have the capacity to put that envelope around themselves. So you put them on the Gerson therapy, and those are our greatest successes. My most dramatic cures are the lymphoma patients. They're very dramatic. I mean, people that are on their deathbed that, are cured. So, and we have that in all the other cancers as well, but it just takes longer. It responds a little bit slower. Nevertheless, are there cancers that don't respond? Well, not really. Let's take leukemia, for example. We can't really cure acute leukemia, but that's not cancer. That's actually a misnomer. When they call leukemia cancer, that's a misnomer. It's actually a blood disorder. And so a blood disorder like acute leukemia, we don't have great success with, but apart from that, that's really the only thing that, I would turn away. Anything else, cancer is cancer. It's a breakdown in the human metabolism. You mentioned it earlier. We all have cancer, right? Mm-hmm. You have cancer. I have cancer. It's a normal bodily process that the body destroy cancer on a daily basis and get rid of it. So at what point does a person's immune system lose that upper hand on the cancer? Well, that is ultimately the crux of the matter. It's when the immune system has just been destroyed year after year after year. And so, all these other cancers, they're all the same. There's no different. People call in all the time, email me, I've got this special kind of cancer. Well, no, you don't. Cancer's cancer. It's an error in metabolism, which has caused a breakdown in the immune system. and you must restore that metabolism if you're going to restore the immune system. So that is how it works. It's the human body that kills the cancer, not any given chemical supplement, magic bullet, as I mentioned.
Cool. Sounds amazing. I would love to go and do like a wellness type thing there just to experience it. And so a person like me, if they were to go, how long, and I'm just saying for me or the listeners that don't have a cancer diagnosis, they just want to go for a wellness visit. Are they also required to stay 2 weeks?
No, I would consider for a wellness retreat, if someone wanted to come for a week, I don't have a problem with that at all. But if you have a diagnosed condition, you need to stay for 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And do you guys incorporate any like any movement practices or anything like that?
Well, we have yoga mats and stuff, lying around the clinic, and we have a beautiful, beautiful outdoor patio with a pool and palm trees. It's really, really beautiful. Just really relaxing to sit out there and stretch and spend time in the sun, which is also a vital component of your immune system, is to get sun, right? But we don't actively bring someone in to, do yoga. We tried that once and nobody would come out and do yoga, so we're paying this yoga instructor to sit around twiddling her fingers. But there's people who come in and, they're yoga people. And so we make sure we have those things, readily available for them.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense, just to move a little bit. And like, I don't know, I would just think maybe breath work and grounding and
we encourage that. I mean, we encourage all of those things, right? I mean, those are pretty much basic principles. I mean, breathing, well, what are we trying to do? We're trying to oxygenate tissues. I mean, you want oxygen, so you got to breathe, right? So we certainly encourage, people to, slow down their breathing, take deeper breaths, get fresh air. You have to keep your windows open. You can't sleep in a room where your windows aren't open. You're breathing stale air all night. Open up your windows, even if just a crack, even if it's in the winter. You have to open your windows a little bit.
Interesting. What about plants, like in your bedroom? A lot of people live like where it's, well, first of all, my husband is a freak and like our alarm is always set, so we don't open the windows at night, but we have lots of plants. So, but I didn't even think about opening my windows at night. So what would you tell somebody about like plants, windows, like that whole thing?
Well, I don't know. I've never, done an official study on how much oxygen plants are producing at night, but I'm sure it helps. But again, open up your window a crack.
Okay, well, I'll have to tell him, because the other night the dogs woke me up and I had to go. I'd set off the alarm and oh my gosh, it was like a hullabaloo. So what wisdom would you like to close with to tell the listeners, just like the biggest takeaway that you want them to get from this?
Well, look, let's go back to these basic principles that we have to heal in order to restore human health. Because that we said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So whether you're sick or whether you want to be healthy, there are basic principles you must obey. That is, you must cut your sodium content. It is that simple. It destroys the thyroid gland. It swells up your cells, causing cellular edema. Your mitochondria inside the cell cannot function in that environment. You must cut your sodium content. Doesn't matter if it's good salt. There's no such thing as good salt. There's such thing as better salt. There's no such thing as good salt. You have to cut the sodium content. What else did we talk about? The cell membrane. That membrane around your cell, that's the gatekeeper to your cell. You must cut out saturated fats. You do not need a lot of saturated fats. Cookies, cake, ice cream, meat, cheese, milk, eggs. Too many saturated fats are going to shut down your body's ability to get oxygen into the cell. Your body can create its own saturated fats. People say, well, you need saturated fats. They're healthy. It's not true. When we talk about fats, you've heard essential fatty acids, right? Well, essential means, by definition, you must get it from your diet. Saturated fats are never categorized as an essential fatty acid because the human body can make them. So cut out your saturated fats. Anything that says partially hydrogenated oil, because that is saturation, saturated with hydrogen. You cannot get oxygen into the cells when you have a diet high in saturated fats. So with that said, you also have to cut out animal products. You have to limit your animal. If it comes from an animal, you have to limit that consumption. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a vegan or you need to be a vegetarian, but if you are going to eat animal products, and that would include eggs, cheese, meat, you can't do certainly a meat more than once or twice a week maximum. That is the maximum I would ever touch anything from an animal. Okay? So these are very basic tenets and principles that people have to live by if they want to achieve optimal health. The proper oils, the proper salt content, or amount of salt intake, which is minimal, if nothing, and you have to limit your animal product intake.
And then do you guys sell that potassium stuff you were mentioning?
So if you go to our website, gersonclinic.com, gersonclinic.com, that's our website. And our store actually is gersonclinics.com. But you can also access our store off of our website, gersonclinic.com. Yeah, we sell all the Gerson products, right? And so they can go there and you can order the potassium powder. Now, you must dilute the powder. It comes in an 8-ounce jar of powder. You take that powder and you put it in a 32-ounce mason jar. And then you dilute that mason jar or that powder all the way up with water to 32 ounces. And then you dissolve it in solution. And then you add that to your juices. Now, if you have heart problems, you have kidney problems, you need to be careful because you cannot take a lot of potassium, but if you're healthy, and your kidneys are healthy, then you shouldn't have a problem at all taking that potassium. But you really don't need, if you're healthy to start, you probably need 8 to 10 teaspoons of the solution per day, spread out throughout the day. You do that for a few months and, you'll be getting a lot of that stored up sodium out of your body.
That's cool. I read the Gerson book a long time ago, probably 10 years ago or something. Have you guys published anything else recently?
Which book did you read?
I want to say maybe it was Yellow.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so you probably read Charlotte's book. It was probably written by Charlotte. Her father's book was written in 1959. It's blue. It's called The Cancer Therapy. Her book is called Healing the Gerson Way.
That's it.
Yeah, it's green and yellow. That's right. So Healing the Gerson Way, that's the best book to buy, if you're not going to come to the clinic. But look, buying the book is great, particularly if you don't have cancer. But in 25 years, I can literally count on my hand the amount of people who were able to read the book and put the entire package together, to success. Yeah, because it's just so complicated and intensive and specific that if you overlook one or two things, it literally will mean the difference between life or death. That is no joke. But anyway, so the book, Healing the Gerson Way, is something that you could utilize. But what was your question in reference to the book?
Oh, I just want to know if you guys had any new books out or like the documentaries you mentioned that we can tell people to check out.
Yeah. So, people are always telling me that I need to write a book, and I don't think I do. I mean, it's already been written, Dr. Gerson's information has been written 3 times now, by Charlotte twice and by himself. So I just don't see the need to write a book. I guess I could write about integrating the advanced protocols, but that'd be like a Dr. Seuss book with the wide letters and, 30 pages long. So I don't feel like I really need to, but so no, there aren't any more publications, but if you go to my website again, gersonclinic.com, and this is for your listeners. So we have a private video section where our private patients who've been to our clinic can log in and they can listen to my interviews and my lectures on the science and on the protocols of the therapy. And so if you go to our website and click on gift and you put podcast in lowercase letters in the password section, then you can watch those private videos and you'll just learn so much about the Gerson therapy and the science, behind the therapy, which we've touched on pretty much today, but those go much more into detail.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And the supplement protocol it goes into as well.
Oh, cool. Well, it's on my bucket list definitely to try to come down there someday in the future. And just experience what I've learned about, throughout the years. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, Doctor. It was a pleasure learning more and meeting you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, much. One more question.
Yes.
Do you integrate chiropractic care to your patients?
At the clinic, I don't, because I'm so busy even when I'm at the clinic that I just don't do chiropractic anymore. One, because really 10 years of chiropractic destroyed my body. I'm 5'6", so bring some 6'4", bull into my clinic and I'm putting him on his side and all that's going into my shoulder, So I really don't do chiropractic anymore. I mean, if someone absolutely needed it, I would do it. But we don't integrate it at the clinic. We encourage people to do it once they go home.
At home. Cool. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking I wanted to ask you about that. It's crazy. Palmer. I have a friend whose son is at Palmer. Have you heard of that school?
Well, that's the original school, Palmer, right?
Oh.
I mean, there's Palmer West now, there's Palmer East, but Palmer out of Davenport, Iowa was the first and original chiropractic school back in the 1920s.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, they have a clinic here or a school here in California. I think it's like in San Jose or something. Okay. So my friend's son's there. So anyways, well, I just want to thank you. I know that you're out of time, but it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that was intense. Lots of good information. I am going to have to go find that mat he was talking about. That sounds amazing. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Please forward this to any friends that you think could benefit from this approach and this information. And if you haven't done so already, please leave us a rating and review. It helps a lot of people find the show. The more reviews we have, the better. And if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at tracy@highenergygirl.com. That's Tracy with 2 E's at highenergygirl.com. Thank you for listening. Make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.